Another episode, another hotel room. I don't know how this podcast turned into a bit of a traveling circus, but I kind of love it, especially for the podcast listeners who are watching it in video form. We have fun backgrounds. I also just couldn't give up like the thought of filming on a beautiful window ledge. You know I'm into these. Is it becoming a bit of a pattern that I search out hotels with window ledges? Maybe. Do we need to do a whole series called On the Ledge or something? Just kidding, I couldn't afford that. Hello, welcome back to Feel Good Lab, the podcast where we explore the intersection between personal growth and career success and all of the yummy good stuff that happens in between. I am still in Toronto. This is actually the same trip that I was on in the last episode. Again, I just couldn't pass up this gorgeous window ledge and I felt the need to film another episode. I didn't prepare to, I didn't write an entire other episode. I didn't have time to do research and all of that. I sort of just only prepared one episode for this trip. So I decided to make this a bit of a special episode. I honestly really loved that we had a bit of a Q&A sort of interactive episode for the last one. So I thought I would dedicate this entire episode to answering your questions, giving you advice, and I think I'm going to call it the Tough Love special episodes or special editions. Tough love because that is what I love to get from my friends. If there's anything to know about my closest friendships is that we love each other to death, but we are not the type of friends that will just gas each other up for the sake of it and just be like those ride or die types that will always stand on your side. We give tough love. If one of us thinks the other is doing something incredibly stupid, or if we think that it's their fault for whatever is going on in their relationship, we will tell them. And I appreciate that honesty and trust from my friends so much. So, of course, I want to give the same level of love and care to you. I'm not here just to tell you about how to work on certain things and improve certain aspects of your life. I'm also here to tell you if you fucked up. Because what are friends for, am I right? Okay, from MebTree and travel, how long did you go before deciding on therapy and how did you choose your therapist? That is a great question. I love talking about therapy. If you know me in real life, you've probably already heard me talk about therapy like 1,000,001 times, but I pretty much started therapy as soon as I guess internally made the decision that it would be a good option for me. I have never been someone who was against therapy. Maybe when I was younger, I didn't really understand therapy. I thought that you needed to have some sort of issue or something to go see a therapist. I didn't know that it was a service that is pretty much accessible for everyone. I say pretty much because the problem with therapy is that it can get very expensive. So if you don't have any sort of medical coverage, no matter where in the world you are, it does get pretty pricey. Now, I do understand that it is a very specialized type of work, and I fully believe that therapists should be paid that much. However, it does suck for the average person who is seeking therapy and isn't able to have that choice of, shopping around for therapists and really finding someone that's good for them. How long? Pretty much as soon as I felt like, okay, this is an issue that I've been dealing with for some time, and it's no longer something that I feel like I can resolve on my own through journaling, through reading, through just self-reflection. As soon as I figured out that I needed more, I needed more resources and that I needed guidance, I pretty much just went for it. And luckily for me, my first therapist that I found ended up being the one that I kept. She is from Latitude Wellness in Vancouver. I absolutely love Latitude. I recommend it to everyone I know. They also do remote services as well, but in person, they actually have a whole variety of different services that you can go there for. So it's kind of like my wellness go-to. I go there for chiro, massage, physio, therapy. They do it all. As far as choosing your therapist goes, it can be a little bit tough. I always recommend that people shop around for therapists. So Don't feel like that if you go to a therapist, you have to stay with that therapist. That is not how it works. You need to have a connection with your therapist. It's like dating. You don't just date one person and then be like, okay, well, this is it. Gotta just make it work. No, you date someone or you go on a date and you figure out if you guys connect and if you share like similarities and commonalities and if they understand you. And then if it all goes well, you go on a second date and you go on a third date. But even after like 3 or 4 or 5 dates, if you feel like you guys just aren't connecting and they just aren't understanding you or you aren't communicating well, you don't go on any more dates with them. You're not locked in. It's the same thing with your therapist. I think that there is this misconception that it's bad to switch therapists or that they would be offended if you switched. That's not how it works. And if your therapist is suggesting that in any way, I don't know if they're an amazing therapist. They really should be telling you like that you can shop around and that you should shop around right off the bat. It is the nature of their job because just as much as you want to make sure you have a connection with them, they should be making sure that they have a connection with you as well. Every therapist has a different style and different modals of therapy that they focus on. They also have different topics that they specialize in. So there can be family trauma, relationships, career advancement. They do have specializations and focuses. So all of those things are things that you can evaluate when you are looking for a therapist and that you should evaluate because, yeah, you just want to find somebody who specializes and is able to help you through your unique experiences. How was your experience in Boston? I loved Boston, honestly. Boston really surprised me as a city. I will say the weather was a little whack though. It was really hot, like really, really humid. And then suddenly it would be like, just there would be a thunderstorm and it would be torrential rainfall for like 35 minutes. And then all of a sudden it's sunny again. It was bizarre. I mean, Vancouver has weather that sort of like flip-flops like that as well. Sometimes we'll have like 4 seasons in one day, but Boston really took it to the extreme. So that was interesting. I love the architecture. I loved the kind of culture, if that's the right word, the feeling that Boston gave me. It just felt, I don't know, it kind of felt like New York, but calmer, a little less crowded, a little less hectic. And there was something about being in Boston that made me pretty inspired and motivated to like work hard. And it kind of low-key made me want to go back to school, which is so silly because that's definitely not something that I care to do, at least full time. But that's the feeling that it gave me. Patrick Gamboa asked, do you believe the universe is sending you signs sometimes and guiding you to where you are today? 100%. It may seem totally woo-woo to some people, but I fully believe that, I don't believe that our paths are already paved, but I do believe that everything we come across in life is some sort of a door or opportunity to a whole nother world of other opportunities. That's kind of how my brain works and how I see like opportunities being is every single choice you make is a fork in the road that takes you to a bunch of other little forks. And every time you make a decision, the entire course of your life changes. Does that make sense? I definitely am somebody who follows my gut a lot. Yes, you want to be logical and you want to think things through with your brain. But for me personally, I am somebody who deeply trusts my gut. And when I have a strong feeling towards or against something, that typically will guide and lead my directions. And I do believe that that is being sent to me through something, like some sort of a greater power. I mean, yes, it is trust in myself, but I also trust that the universe isn't going to do me wrong. Like I put out good energy, I hope, positive energy. And so whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. So universe, please send me the good vibes. Ooh, the sun's streaming in right now. It's feeling like good vibes. Elle asks, what do you do when you feel like your whole world is falling apart? Are you okay, girl? First of all, are you okay? Is there something we need to talk about? What is going on? I definitely am not a stranger to that feeling for sure. I am a very emotional person, and when I'm having a bad day, I am having an awful day and I cannot help it. It's like as soon as I'm having a bad day, everything just starts building onto that and I end up having just the most terrible day ever. What do I do when it feels like the whole universe is falling apart? Obviously, it depends on what is actually going on in your life, but I think some general advice that I can give around that is that first of all, you want to give yourself time to grieve or just ride out those emotions. I definitely don't recommend just like pushing up against it or like forcing yourself to ignore it and move past it. It's not healthy, and any emotions or trauma or anything that is going on, if you compartmentalize that and just try to forget about it and put it aside, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass one day. That is just how feelings work. They don't just go away. We cannot just bandage over them and think that they're not there and then think that they're gone forever. I feel like that was actually a big part of my therapy journey, was revisiting all of those things that I compartmentalized over the years. And I'm very good at compartmentalizing. I'm very good at just shoving emotions into a box, locking it up and shoving it as far back in my mind as it'll go. I've done that with every single breakup I've had. I will cry for maximum 1 day. And then I shove that shit so far down that I don't feel anything anymore. And then I'm like, I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna better myself. I'm gonna drink smoothies. I'm gonna eat healthy. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna make more money. I'm gonna do everything to better my life, which is both an healthy and unhealthy way to go about it. I think the working on myself aspect and naturally wanting to lean into that whenever I'm going through something tough is a great outlet, but shoving everything down and forcing myself not to feel the feelings is an awful way to deal with it. So give yourself time to just ride out those emotions. Cry for as many days as you want. Feel stress. Just lay in bed. Don't do anything if that is what you need. But then after some time, pick yourself back up and just move on. Like, keep it moving. I am a strong believer that the best thing that you can do in any scenario is to just continue working on yourself. You're going through a breakup, work on yourself. You just got fired from your job, work on yourself. All your friends hate you, work on yourself. How is working on yourself not the right answer to everything? Because if you just better yourself as a human, whether it's upskilling, whether it's healing, whether it's learning how to become a better partner or a better friend or a better daughter or son, ultimately those soft and hard skills are going to help you achieve greater things. And I think that's the ultimate goal, right? Like, we have this short life, and what are we here for if not to just learn and do as much as we can before we are put to rest in a coffin or cremated or however you want to go. A little dark, maybe, I don't know, but that is pretty much always my advice for my friends if they're going through a shit time is, all right, feel it out for a few days, and then go to your friends or whoever supports you and lean on them for a little bit. And then pick your shit back up and let's get going. Let's go on a trip. Let's go to the gym. Let's work on a new passion project. Let's do shit together. Like, just keep it moving, because once you start moving and get the ball rolling, you're naturally just going to start feeling better and feeling more confident and being happier and actually be able to continue on with your life and no longer feel like your world is falling apart. Here's a super simple and short one. What sport did you play in high school? I actually played volleyball and basketball in grade 8. And then the summer of grade 8, I went back to Asia to stay with my family for the entire duration of the summer. And then I applied, or like I tried out for grade 9 volleyball and didn't get in. And I was like, okay, screw it. I'm done with sports. I love playing sports. I think it's so fun. But that's pretty much the end of my athletic career, was grade 8 volleyball and grade 8 basketball. I also played volleyball and basketball all throughout elementary school as well, but it ended in grade 8 for me. Steph asks, how did you know what you wanted to do for your career? And do you have any advice for someone who wants to break into tech but doesn't know where to start? How I got into marketing is actually super superficial and very shallow. And I honestly had no idea what marketing was or PR was. I literally was watching, I think it was like 90210. No, it was Melrose Place, maybe one of those. But there was a girl in it who was working in public relations. And I saw her and I was like, yeah, that looks amazing. That looks so fun. So I was like, yep, that's the career path I want to go in. I don't have to do sciences. I don't have to do maths. Great. That is the career path I want to go in. So I committed and I was like, all right, what do I need to do to work in public relations? And then once I graduated, started attending university, I quickly realized after some research that I would have hated working in public relations specifically. So I pivoted just slightly and moved into more like general marketing and communications. And then coming out of schooling, I had to kind of figure out like, okay, do I want to specialize in something? Like, what is the direction I want to go in? Like, is it more in digital marketing? Is it SEO? Is it paid ads? Is it social media? I think my social media background definitely helped, but I knew that I didn't want to be fully in social media because it was something that I was already doing on the side. So I actually applied to a ton of different jobs. I applied for an SEO agency, I applied for a paid ads agency, and I just so happened to land my marketing and communications coordinator role in a tech startup. So I was like, great, let's see how this is, learn for a couple of years, and then we can move on and figure out what we want to do for the rest of my career. I ended up staying at that company for 7 years, moving up from coordinator to manager to director. And I loved it. I love being a marketing generalist or a specialist. I think there's definitely pros and cons to niching down in your career, especially in a marketing career. I do feel sometimes like I wish I had some sort of a specialization, like some area of marketing that I excelled in. I do, but I don't know, being a generalist for so long, it feels like a hard sell sometimes. When people ask me what I do, it's like, I'm a marketer. I mean, I'm creative, I'm good at design, I'm pretty good at writing, but I don't know, it just feels hard. It feels hard sometimes as a generalist to describe and to really market yourself. As far as breaking into tech goes, I am going to link one of my YouTube videos in the show notes so you can go watch it because I spent a lot of time on that video. I spoke with and interviewed one of my tech recruiter friends, and we broke down exactly like all the best tips for you to break into tech. But to summarize it quickly for this episode, first, I think you need to decide on what area, like what role you want to be in tech. And if making good money is one of your goals for tech, I would figure out for all the companies that you want to work for, what are the roles that directly affect their bottom line? It's typically like marketing, development, sales, product management, those sort of roles. I'm sure there are others. Those are just the ones that are really obvious to me. Customer success, that is also a huge one. But the reason you want to look at which roles directly affect a company's bottom line is because if your role directly helps boost their revenue, then they're going to value that role more and pay you more. So it's definitely a consideration. I wouldn't say that it's the only consideration. You obviously want to go into a career path that you love, but it is something to consider. So start there. Tech is such a broad industry. Like there's just so many different areas of tech that you can dive into. And I think that you need to spend some time thinking about like what it is you want to get out of your career, what area you want to work in, even like what industry within tech you want to be in. Is it financial tech? Is it marketing tech? What are you interested in? And then, from there, just do your research. Like, what are the different salary ranges for these different types of industries? What are the different roles that these type of companies look for and are interested in? And then I think looking at job postings is so helpful when you're trying to build out the path of your career because they usually give you like your day-to-day responsibilities, their expectations of you, the description of the job, so you can kind of get a pretty good understanding of what that job entails. And then I would just work backwards from there. So if you find a role that you feel like you would really want to be in, look at the tools that are required for you to do that job. Look at what the expectations are, what soft and hard skills they want you to have, and then go and learn those tools and skills so that you can become the perfect person for that role. Kevin asks, what did your exes think about you creating content? I feel like they were all pretty supportive for the most part. I'm trying to think about like how many relationships I've been in since I started creating content, and I started creating content a really, really long time ago. I think there was definitely like when I was younger and when the industry wasn't as developed and when I was really just doing it for fun, there was probably more pushback. Like their opinions were more like, is this a good use of your time? Like, can you be doing something else with your time? What are you doing? Is this kind of cringy? But I think as I got older and dated, I don't know, more mature partners, they were all generally pretty supportive about it. A lot of them thought it was really neat that I had this fun hobby, that I was learning all these different skills like filming and editing and, you know, putting these creative projects together. So I'm very thankful that a lot of my exes were very, very supportive of it. If any of them are listening, which I doubt that they are, but yeah, thank you guys. I think it is important to have support from your partner, no matter what you're working on. Like you want that, right? And I know that not everyone likes to do the same things, but it's like you should at least support your partner in whatever decisions that they make. Summer asks about my travel must-haves. Ooh, that is a great question. I mean, because I create content, a lot of times the things that are like must brings for me are tech related, like my camera, stuff like that. But other than that, I have been really, really loving my Rimowa luggage. I got gifted one, very grateful for it. But I got gifted one from a brand and it has just been it's amazing. It's so good. I kind of understand why it costs so much now. I also have been absolutely loving my Longchamp expandable travel tote, which I purchased with my own money. It is so good. It fits so much, but it still keeps like a relatively small form factor so that you can have it as a personal item. The other thing is definitely my Lark bottle because you never know if a city's tap water is going to be drinkable. And so I love that this disinfects your water for you and just makes sure that you always have access to clean drinking water. My journal, like some sort of a notebook and then some sort of a book. But besides those things, that is pretty much all I really need. Something to film with, probably my laptop, a good travel bag, a good water bottle, and you're good to go. You're good to explore the world. Another question was how to gain sexual confidence. I think that if you are not confident sexually, what you need to be asking yourself is, why? Like, why don't you feel confident? Is it because you don't feel comfortable in your naked body? Is it because you don't feel comfortable asking for what you like? I think it's important that whenever you are experiencing any struggle in your life that you dig a little deeper and really try to figure out what the root of the problem is, because oftentimes the problem that we think that we're having isn't actually what the root problem is. And so there's this thing called the 5 whys framework that a lot of people use for like sales and marketing, and it can be used in a lot of different purposes. And for this purpose, I think it works really well. So it's like asking yourself, okay, I don't feel confident sexually. Why? I don't really feel comfortable being naked. Why? I feel a little bit insecure about my body. Why? So you kind of get the gist. Like you essentially want to keep asking yourself why. It's called the 5 whys. So it's like you should ask 5 times, but sometimes it can be more than that. But you should just keep asking yourself why so that you can dig deeper and deeper into an issue until you get to the bottom of it, the root of it. Like there is always something that probably caused you some form of trauma that has led you to where you are today of having the specific belief system that you have in yourself. So no matter what sort of confidence you are seeking, whether it's sexually, whether it's your appearance, whether it's your assertiveness at work, keep digging down until you can figure out why you don't feel good. And then figure out how you can improve that. Is it going to the gym more? Is it just, being kinder to yourself? What is it going to take for you to fix or at least work on that root issue so that it can spread in all these different ways and cause all these amazing positive impacts in your life. I think when you work on a problem that way, instead of just addressing like one area, like your sexual confidence or your confidence at work or whatever it may be, it just helps it helps you tackle a lot more different areas of your life all at once. I also think that sexual confidence does come with experience, both with yourself and with partners. And I'm not saying you need to go and experience it with a lot of different partners. It could just be with one partner, and really trying different things and figuring out what you like and figuring out what you're good at and what they're good at. Communication is going to be a big part of that. And just making sure that you are asking for what you like and getting more comfortable about communicating what you're into, and then self-experimentation as well, because how are you going to know what you like sexually if you can't even achieve it yourself? Okay, last question from Summer was how to be okay with where you are in life. I think a lot of things play into what makes us feel like we are not okay with where we are at in life. I think the figure out the root problem answer probably applies to a lot of these types of questions. So it's figuring out like, what are you not happy with? Why aren't you happy with where you are in your life? But it's also just sort of building that trust for yourself that you can and you will achieve the things that you want as long as you keep working at it and keep, upskilling or working on yourself or whatever it is. It's like the universe and life isn't going to guide you wrong. And you just need to like find your inner compass and figure out what it is that you want from life and just go after it. And oftentimes when I say like figure out what you want from life, it doesn't have to be a specific goal like I want to make this much money or I want to have this career or I want to move here. It can just be like, hey, these are the things that I want to have. These are the things that make me happy in life. I want to build a life where I can experience these things or where I can live the way that I want to live. And then just have that as a guiding point to what you need to do to achieve that life and be able to live the life that you want. I think also when you start to be a little kinder to yourself and realize that everyone is walking very different paths with very different timelines, and there's never going to be another human that is identical to you, how does it make any sense to compare yourself with someone else? Because they are a completely different being than you. You cannot follow exactly after someone else's steps, and you can only continue to work on you and your life and your career and your experiences and continue to build out your journey. So I think coming back to that and sort of rooting in that has really helped me realize like, okay, yeah, there's some people out there. Some of my friends are doing amazing things and they're moving here or getting this promotion or landing this position. I have a ton of really, really amazing, impressive friends and I'm so happy for them. But just because they're achieving things in this timeline doesn't mean that I need to too. Like my path is so different than every one of my friends, and that is okay because we're all different human beings. And there's this joy of just being such different human beings all coming together and sharing like a beautiful friendship. There is this joy to social media of being able to witness all these different people go through their different life paths and getting a window into that, even if it is just the most filtered, happiest, most beautiful moments of their life. Like I love seeing what everyone is getting up to. And I feel so happy for people. And yeah, I don't know. It's like just building that trust and belief in yourself that you are doing exactly what you need to be doing and walking the path that you need to be walking. It's your life. And then just continue to work on that. Okay, I think this next question will be the last question. I don't want this episode to go on for too long, but if there are any more questions that come in after this, maybe we'll save it for another tough love episode. So please, if you made it this far, comment and let me know what you thought about this episode. Like, do you hate it? Do we hate this format? Do we hate Q&As? Or do we like it? Do we want to do more of these? It'll really help me figure out like other episodes for this podcast because obviously I want to make episodes that you want to listen to that are fun for the both of us, you know? The last question is, how do you think we build our identity? How do we recognize it and change it if we want? Big question. I think how you recognize your identity, it's really different for everyone. Like, I think our identities come from a lot of different areas, and we, as humans, all value different things. Some of us may draw our identities, or like the majority of our identities, from our career or being a family man or woman or being, I don't know, a good partner, a good friend. Like, it really depends on what you value the most in life. And it's really interesting because how we identify and what we think our identities are typically is going to be very different to what other people identify us as. I actually read this really interesting book years ago that my friend recommended. I don't remember the title. I'll link it in the show notes below. But essentially, it's the story of a philosopher who started thinking about how he sees him as one version of him, his wife sees him as a different version of him, and every single person he ever encounters in his life sees a different version of him because everyone has an idea of who you are, of what you believe in, that is, you know, obviously shaped by their opinion of you and their values. AKA, there is a bajillion versions of you. And when he was thinking about all of this and all these different versions of him and what they mean to people and what they mean to him, kind of caused him to go a bit crazy because he just couldn't understand and couldn't fathom that that the person that he thinks he is not always how he comes off to other people. But ultimately, I think your identity and belief in self is the most important one. Of course, what your close loved ones, like what the people you care about the most think about you, I think matters too, because at the end of the day, you want there to be some alignment, right? You don't want your closest friends and your family to think that you are one person, but you think you're another. I think that misalignment it might cause some trauma or some cognitive dissonance in your life. But I think there always will be differences in how you identify and how your close loved ones identify. But I think beyond those two circles of self and then like the slightly outer circle of like people that you love, all the other opinions, do they really matter? I don't think so. So yeah, how do you recognize your own identity? It's figuring out what you believe in, what you value, what's important to you, what your culture is, what your religion is. All of those different aspects of our lives play into our identities. But really, ultimately, it's up to you what you identify as. But if you need a little bit of help and you want to just maybe like write down what you think your identity is, I think a great thing that you can do is just ask your friends and like ask the people who are closest to you what they think your strong points are, what they think you might need to work on, and have that fun, honest conversation with them. I love doing that with my friends because it really helps me understand like, okay, what do they value in me as a friend? And what is important to me? Like, what are the traits about me that make them feel good, or maybe that they feel like I should work on? I feel like that is a great like method of self-reflection, actually, especially because the people who are close to you, like genuinely their opinions are the only ones that matter, at least for me. And as for how you want to change it, if you want, if there is an aspect of you that you don't particularly love, if you think there's an area in your life that you would want to work on, identify what those are, find out what that root problem is, and figure out how you can go about changing it. I almost see sometimes like self-development as a project. I break it down like how I would break down a project at work. I'm like, okay, what is the objective? What are the key results I want to reach? How am I going to get there? OKR, method, my life. But yeah, figure out what you believe about yourself and what you think your identity is. Figure out what areas you want to work on as a human being. Project manage that shit and get to work. That's it. It's that easy. No, it's not. It's really, really hard, truly. It's simple for me to give you advice about it because I'm not going through it. All right, that is my very first tough love episode. I hope you enjoyed this. I did. This was really fun for me. I feel like I was just having a nice deep chat with a friend and we're just shooting advice back and forth, except that I was given the advice and I wasn't getting any. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate the podcast a 5 stars. And even if you didn't, I would really appreciate it if you rated it 5 stars anyways. But comment and let me know what your thoughts were about the Q&A episode. If you had a question that you asked and you feel like you want it answered, comment and let me know as well, because then I will do another Q&A episode. If you're discovering this podcast completely by random, hi, I'm Angel. I actually create YouTube videos as well about productivity and personal development and career development. So if you would like, I would love it if you checked out my YouTube channel as well, which I have linked in the show notes. I think when it comes to these topics, I have spent a lot of time and done a lot of research to create content around these different aspects of our lives. So yeah, I think there's going to be really fun content on there for you to consume and enjoy as well. So please go and check that out. It is officially past dinner time and I am getting very hungry. If you heard my stomach rumble in this podcast, I am sorry. So I'm going to take my butt to dinner now, but thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. Yes, 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 yes. Honestly, this mic kind of makes me want to karaoke.